Imagine if your own wife felt disgusted by your job. My wife was ashamed of having a husband who worked as a public minibus driver. The pressure of social status, environment, and constant comparison destroyed our marriage. Without ever seeing my struggle as a husband who worked honestly from dawn until night, she chose divorce for the sake of status and how people looked at her. That divorce shattered me. But from my lowest point, I slowly learned how to rise again. From an ordinary minibus driver, my life changed until one day I was trusted to manage an entire fleet and became a transport business owner. Before the story begins, please write in the comments where you're watching from. Don't forget to like and subscribe so stories with meaning can continue to grow and bring you more powerful stories. That morning, the air was still cold. The streets of Los Angeles were quiet, not yet crowded, but Ryan was already sitting behind the wheel of his minibus, staring through the windshield fogged by morning dew. On the dashboard, there was a small photo, its colors slowly fading, a wedding picture of Ryan and Melissa. Their smiles used to be warm as the dream Ryan once believed in, that hard work alone was enough to keep a marriage safe. Ryan turned the engine key. The engine coughed briefly, then came alive. Just like Ryan's life, it often stumbled but was always forced to keep moving. Outside, a small coffee shop was still quiet. A grocery vendor was just beginning to arrange his goods. Ryan took a deep breath and whispered softly, as if speaking to himself. "Be strong again today, Ryan. Don't overthink, as long as the family's okay." Ryan wasn't a man with grand ambitions. He just wanted to come home to a house with the lights on, to hear plates clinking in the kitchen, to know someone was waiting. Melissa used to be like that. They had been married for 7 years. In the early years, Melissa was a woman who knew how to be grateful. Even when Ryan came home with barely enough money, she still smiled. When the minibus broke down and Ryan came home late, she still made him warm tea. Even when they lived in a cramped rental house in a narrow alley, Melissa could still laugh. She used to say, "As long as we're together, it's enough." But life in the city isn't only about surviving. Sometimes it's about how people see you. And slowly, those looks began to erode someone's heart. Lately, Melissa had changed. Not suddenly angry, not suddenly cruel. The change was subtle, but sharp. It started with a flat expression when Ryan talked, with short replies, with her phone getting more attention than Ryan's eyes. Ryan pretended not to notice. He told himself maybe she was tired, maybe she was bored with our routine. He wanted to be a mature husband, not someone who suspected too easily. That morning, Ryan placed grocery money on the table. Not much, but enough for a few days. Melissa came out of the bedroom neatly dressed, her hair tied back, her face beautiful, but her eyes felt distant. Ryan greeted her softly. "Melissa, the grocery money's on the table. If it's not enough, tell me. I'll find a way." Melissa glanced at it briefly. She didn't step closer. She didn't smile. She only nodded. Ryan held his breath. His chest felt lightly stabbed. Such a small thing, but when it happens every day, it becomes heavy. Ryan tried to sound casual. "I'm driving farther today, trying to get more passengers. Rent's due tomorrow." Melissa looked at him and replied, "Okay." That was it. No "be careful," no "good luck," none of the words she used to say. Ryan locked the door and walked through the alley. With every step, one question echoed in his mind. When did this house become so cold? Ryan's minibus wasn't new. The paint was faded. Some seats were torn, but Ryan took care of it as best he could. Every weekend he cleaned it himself. He believed this job wasn't shameful. What's shameful is stealing, being lazy, cheating, and Ryan was none of those. On the road, Ryan watched the city move fast. Men in suits entered their cars without ever looking at minibus drivers. Students laughed in the back seats. Mothers carried groceries, their faces tense from rising prices. Everyone carried their own burden. At the terminal, Ryan waited for passengers. Other drivers talked about their families, school fees, complaining wives. Ryan mostly stayed silent now, because his problem wasn't money alone. It was the change of heart waiting at home. Near noon, Ryan's phone vibrated. A message from Melissa. For a moment, Ryan smiled. Finally, she thought about me. But the message was short. "Don't forget to pick me up at the salon at 3 p.m. I have an event." Ryan read it several times. Salon. An event. Ryan swallowed. Melissa used to hate salons. She said the money was better saved. Now she asked to be picked up like it was normal. Ryan replied, "Okay." At the salon near a main road, Ryan parked a bit away. Through the glass, women sat laughing with their hair wrapped. Melissa came out. Not in casual clothes. She wore a bright blue dress, neatly tailored pants, a small bag Ryan had never seen before. Her hair was perfectly styled, her face sharper, more confident. She walked towards the minibus, then slowed. She glanced around, as if afraid someone might see. She got in quickly and shut the door. Ryan forced the smile. "What's the event?" She replied, "Social gathering." At Linda's house. Linda was a friend whose husband worked at a big corporation, a large house, often showing off on social media. At the house, luxury cars filled the driveway. Melissa hesitated before getting out. "Ryan, wait here. Don't get out." Ryan froze. "Why?" "It's okay. Just wait." Ryan nodded, swallowing the heat in his chest. He sat alone inside the minibus, surrounded by luxury cars worth more than dozens of vehicles like his. For the first time, Ryan felt painfully small. That night, Ryan finally asked, "Melissa, I feel like you've changed. What's going on?" She put her spoon down. "I'm tired," she said flatly. "Tired of what?" "Tired of living like this. Tired of seeing my friends with husbands who have real careers. Tired of being asked what my husband does." Ryan whispered, "I work honestly." She laughed shortly. "Honesty isn't enough." Then she said the word that broke him. "I'm ashamed. I don't want to spend my life married to a minibus driver." That sentence slammed into Ryan like a door being shut forever. That night, Ryan sat on the edge of the bed, staring at their wedding photo. Melissa's smile in that photo looked like a stranger now. And in his heart, one question remained. Did I fail as a husband, or is the world simply too cruel to honest men?
That afternoon, Melissa's family came. Her mother, her older sister, her uncle. They sat in Ryan's small living room, making it feel even smaller. Melissa's mother spoke first, her tone cold. "Ryan, you're a good man, but being good isn't enough to lead a family." Ryan looked at his mother-in-law respectfully. He knew his place, but he still had dignity. "I'm still trying, ma'am," he said. Her uncle chimed in. "Trying has to show results. Melissa has waited long enough." Her sister added, "You know our social circle. Should Melissa keep answering the same question over and over? What does your husband do? A minibus driver?" Ryan clenched his fists, but he held back. "I earn honestly," Ryan said firmly. "I'm not asking for pity." Melissa's mother sighed. "It's not about honesty. It's about Melissa's future." Melissa sat beside her mother. Her face was tense, but there was no doubt in her eyes. Ryan looked at her for a long time, searching for the woman he once knew, the woman who laughed in their tiny rental house, who said, "As long as we're together." "Melissa," Ryan asked quietly, "is there really no other way?" She shook her head slowly. "No." Ryan nodded. At that moment, something inside him collapsed, but at the same time, something hardened. "If this is your decision," Ryan said calmly, "I won't force you." The room fell silent. They probably expected him to beg, to cry, to humiliate himself. But Ryan didn't. "I also won't allow myself to be humiliated. If we divorce, we do it properly. No twisted stories, no false accusations." Melissa's sister smiled faintly. "That depends on your attitude." It sounded like a soft threat. Ryan looked at them one by one. The condescending stares, the judging tone. That day, Ryan knew he was alone. The legal process moved fast. Melissa was fully prepared. Neatly arranged documents, clear schedules, as if this divorce had been planned for a long time. In court, Ryan sat across from Melissa, only a few meters apart, yet worlds away. The judge spoke formally. Ryan answered briefly. No drama, no excessive tears. Ryan chose silence. Outside the courtroom, Melissa said coldly, "Thank you for not making things difficult." Ryan looked at her. A small smile appeared, not a happy one, but the smile of someone who had just absorbed the hardest blow. "You're welcome," Ryan said. "I hope you find the life you want." Melissa fell silent, clearly not expecting that calm. On the day the divorce was finalized, Ryan returned home alone. A house that once felt alive now felt empty. The wardrobe was half empty. Melissa's belongings were gone. Ryan sat on the floor, staring at the wall. No crying, no shouting, just heavy breathing. In the silence, Ryan spoke to himself. "If I break now, they'll be right. But if I rise, this won't just be about money." That night, Ryan didn't sleep. He thought about what went wrong, what could be fixed, how to live without the woman he once called home. Then his phone buzzed. A message from an old friend, another driver. "Ryan, I heard you got divorced. If you need extra work, meet me tomorrow. There's an opportunity." Ryan stared at the screen for a long time. His heart pounded. He replied briefly, "What time?" That was the moment, without him realizing it, that a new path began to open, a path that would lead him somewhere Melissa never imagined. The next morning, Ryan awoke with a heavy head. The house was still silent. No footsteps, no sound of running water. The silence he once longed for now pressed down on him. Ryan sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the empty space in the closet. Where Melissa's clothes used to hang, there was now just space and unfinished memories. He took a long breath. Today, he had to move. If he stayed still, his own thoughts would destroy him. After showering and praying, Ryan left the house earlier than usual, not to drive his route, but to keep his promise to the friend who messaged him. His name was Jason. Like Ryan, Jason was a minibus driver, but he rarely drove full shifts anymore. He spent more time building connections, chasing opportunities. Ryan used to think Jason dreamed too much. Now, Ryan needed that dream. They met at a small coffee stall near the terminal. Jason was already there, his coffee still hot. Jason looked at Ryan seriously. "I heard from the guys. That's heavy." Ryan nodded. "It's over." That answer told Jason everything. Ryan wasn't someone who wanted pity. Jason went straight to the point. "I know a guy. He owns several minibuses, but the management is a mess. Drivers come and go. Deposits are unclear. He needs someone on the ground, someone who understands the work and can be trusted." Ryan frowned slightly. Jason leaned in. "He's looking for someone to handle operations, not just driving,
managing drivers, routes, maintenance, hard work. Ryan fell silent. The words opened a small door in his mind. He knew the problems out there: unrealistic deposits, broken vehicles, driver conflicts, but he'd never thought about managing. "So what does that have to do with me?" Ryan asked. Jason looked him straight in the eyes. "I recommended you." Ryan was stunned. "Why me?" "Because you're not just a driver. You know the field, you're honest, and most importantly, you're not crooked. Guys like that are rare." Ryan rubbed his face. Doubt whispered inside him. He was newly divorced, mentally exhausted. But another voice spoke louder. "This is a chance." "What about capital?" Ryan asked. Jason smiled. "We'll talk about that later. First, meet him." That afternoon, Ryan met the owner. His name was Mr. Sullivan. In his 50s, well-dressed, driving a nice car, but his face looked tired. They met at a small workshop. Several minibuses were parked in a row, some damaged, peeling paint, bald tires. Mr. Sullivan looked Ryan up and down. "Jason says you've been driving a long time." Ryan nodded. "Over a decade." Mr. Sullivan asked directly, "If I trust you, can you handle all this?" Ryan swallowed. This wasn't a small question. He looked around, saw real problems, but also real potential. "I can't promise fast results," Ryan said honestly, "but I know where the problems are. And I know drivers aren't machines. If they're treated like humans, they'll take care of the vehicles like their own." Mr. Sullivan silenced, then smiled faintly. The answer didn't sound smart. It sounded sincere. "I don't want complications," Mr. Sullivan said. "I want stable income. I want durable vehicles. If you can do that, I'll give you a share." Ryan's heart beat faster. This wasn't a dream. This was real. "I'll try," Ryan said. From that day on, Ryan's life changed rhythm. In the mornings, he still drove his minibus. In the afternoons and evenings, he visited workshops, talked to drivers, noted complaints, studied empty routes. Ryan began to learn, step by step.
Ryan listened. He didn't come as a boss. He came as a man of the field, someone who understood the ground reality. At first, some of the drivers were cynical. One of them scoffed. "Yeah, right, he won't last long." Ryan didn't respond. He chose to work. He started with the small things: clear maintenance schedules, realistic daily deposits. Honest drivers were given flexibility. Those who cheated were confronted with data, not anger. Slowly, the atmosphere changed. Mr. Sullivan watched quietly. The income stabilized. Breakdowns became rare. Passenger complaints dropped significantly. One afternoon, Mr. Sullivan called Ryan into his office. "Ryan," he said, "are you willing to take on 2 more units?" Ryan paused. 2 more vehicles meant bigger responsibility, but also a bigger opportunity. He nodded. "Yes." That day, Ryan walked home differently. The apartment was still quiet, still empty, but his chest felt lighter. For the first time since the divorce, Ryan felt his life moving forward. A few weeks later, news about Ryan began spreading through his old neighborhood. People whispered that Ryan was no longer just a driver. And without Ryan realizing it, the news reached Melissa. One evening, Ryan's phone rang. Melissa's name appeared on the screen. Ryan stared at it for a long moment. His finger hesitated. Finally, he answered. "Hello." Melissa's voice sounded stiff. "Ryan, are you busy?" "What is it?" Ryan replied calmly. A brief silence. "I heard something." Ryan waited. "They said you're managing someone else's minibuses now." "Yes," Ryan answered flatly. Silence again. Then Melissa spoke softly. "Oh,
Ryan knew this wasn't small talk. This was the beginning of something. He ended the call politely, not cold, not warm, just enough. As he looked at the evening sky, Ryan whispered to himself, "I'm not there yet, but I won't stop." And somewhere in the distance, the shadow of the past began moving closer, carrying curiosity and perhaps regret that still hadn't found the courage to speak. Time passed faster than Ryan realized. Nearly a year since the divorce. A year filled with sweat, without a hand to hold, without a home to lean on, only cold walls. Yet in that year, Ryan learned to stand on his own. Mornings no longer always found him behind the steering wheel. Sometimes he was at the garage, sometimes at the terminal, sometimes standing by the roadside. He tracked which vehicles were late on deposits, which broke down often, which drivers argued with passengers. Ryan had shifted roles. From a man once asked, "How far are you driving today?" to a man now asked, "What's the decision today?" It wasn't easy. Some drivers resisted being managed. Some accused him of forgetting where he came from. Some said it outright, "You've changed." Ryan didn't take offense. He knew how fragile his position was. One wrong step and everything could collapse. So he chose a different approach. He sat with them, drank coffee at the same roadside stalls, ate at the same cheap diners. "I'm not trying to be a harsh boss," Ryan said honestly. "I just want us all to survive, together." The tough ones softened, the rebellious ones complied. Not out of fear, but because they saw real results. Vehicles that used to break down daily now ran smoothly. Deposits that used to fall short became stable. Drivers stopped fighting each other. Mr. Sullivan slowly stepped back, handing almost all operational decisions to Ryan. One evening, Mr. Sullivan called him into his air-conditioned office. "Ryan," he said, staring at him intently, "I want to be honest. You're not just a manager. You're an asset." Ryan fell silent. The word asset felt too big, far too big for a man once humiliated for holding a steering wheel. Mr. Sullivan continued, "I want to offer you a partnership, not a salary, profit sharing." Ryan's heart pounded. This wasn't just a job anymore. This was a foundation. He asked for time to think. Mr. Sullivan nodded. "Think carefully. Opportunities don't come twice." That night, Ryan returned to his small apartment, unchanged, yet different. Sitting on the floor, staring at the blank wall, Ryan remembered Melissa's words from the past. "You'll never move up." Ryan smiled softly. Not a smile of revenge, but of realization. The world could change without hatred. A few days later, Ryan accepted the offer. From that moment on, he officially stopped driving the city shuttle every day. He still went into the field, but no longer as a driver. He became the one holding the decisions. The man once looked down upon now held the keys. The news spread quickly, through the terminal, the garages, the old neighborhood, and of course, to Melissa. Ryan knew when a message arrived one night from a number he had deleted but never forgotten. "Ryan, you don't drive, do you?" He read it without emotion and replied simply, "No." No explanations, no stories. But behind that screen, Ryan knew a heart was beginning to grow restless. Meanwhile, Melissa's life didn't unfold the way she had imagined. From stories Ryan heard indirectly, Melissa had moved circles, chasing a new social environment. But the happiness she sought never arrived. Relationships she once bragged about began to crack. People who once praised her slowly disappeared. The glamorous world revealed its true face. One day, Ryan accidentally ran into one of Melissa's old friends at a convenience store. She looked awkward. "Ryan, you look different now." Ryan smiled politely. "Just the same." She hesitated, then said, "Melissa talks about you often." Ryan didn't ask further. He didn't need to know. The past didn't need to be dragged back. But fate wasn't done yet. A few weeks later, Mr. Sullivan invited Ryan to a small Thanksgiving gathering. Family, business partners, old faces, some who once looked down upon him. Ryan arrived in a simple, neat shirt, standing tall. He recognized neighbors, former social circle friends of Melissa, and then a whisper spread. "That's Ryan, the former minibus driver." Ryan heard it but didn't react. He stood beside Mr. Sullivan, and when Mr. Sullivan introduced Ryan as his operational partner, the room shifted. Faces stiffened. Some swallowed hard. Others looked at Ryan differently. Then, in the corner of the room, Ryan saw her. Melissa. She stood frozen, pale, eyes wide, as if realizing something she had ignored all along. Their eyes met, only for seconds, but it was enough to shake the past. Ryan nodded politely. Didn't approach, didn't avoid. Melissa lowered her gaze. In that moment, Ryan knew this story wasn't finished. There was still one final chapter left, and its ending would not be simple.
Ryan sat in his chair. He didn't lower his head. He didn't challenge anyone either. He simply faced forward. When his name was called for the presentation, Ryan stood up. His steps were steady. The projector lit up the screen. Charts, revenue data, fleet maintenance improvements, driver welfare programs. Ryan spoke calmly. No grand gestures. No one was belittled. He simply presented what had been done. The room fell silent. A few heads nodded in agreement. From the back row, Ryan noticed Melissa entering late. Her face was tense. Her eyes immediately searched the room, and when their gazes met, she froze. Ryan's name was displayed on the massive screen, his role, his responsibility, all clearly stated. Melissa stood stiff, as if she was only now fully realizing what she had once walked away from. The presentation ended. The applause wasn't thunderous, but it was sincere. After the session, several people approached Ryan, offering conversations, partnerships, future work. One city official even patted his shoulder and said, "Men like you are exactly what this industry needs." From a distance, Ryan saw Melissa surrounded by her family. Their expressions had changed. No pride anymore, just confusion and silence. Melissa's mother stared at Ryan for a long time. Her gaze was different now, no longer condescending, but heavy with unspoken regret. Ryan knew the stage was open, but this wasn't the end yet, because Ryan hadn't said anything. And when he finally would, it wouldn't be for revenge, but to close the story in a way no one could deny. That night, as Ryan returned home, his phone vibrated. A message from Melissa. "Ryan, can we meet and talk properly?" Ryan stared at the screen for a long moment, then exhaled slowly. He knew the next chapter would be the most decisive one, not just for Melissa, but for his own dignity. He read the message over and over. There was no apology, no admission of wrongdoing, just an invitation to talk properly. Simple words, sent far too late. Ryan didn't reply immediately. He placed the phone on the table, sat quietly, and stared at the wall. Memories surfaced. Melissa's face when she said she was ashamed, her family's condescending stares, the brown folder in her hands. Everything was still vivid.
What Ryan felt now wasn't anger, it was clarity. Finally, Ryan replied briefly, "We'll meet at the Provincial Transportation Cooperative event next week. That's where things will be clear." The message was sent. Ryan knew Melissa would come, and he knew this wouldn't be a private conversation. It would be public, open, undeniable. The days leading to the provincial event felt long. Ryan stayed busy, yet his mind remained calm. All the data was ready, all the documents were complete. He wasn't preparing emotional speeches, he was preparing facts. The event was far bigger than the district meeting. The provincial hall in Los Angeles was packed. Representatives from transportation cooperatives, business leaders, community figures, families of fleet managers, even local media attended. Ryan's name appeared as one of the speakers. The topic was simple: transforming public transportation through driver-centered fairness. Ryan stood backstage and took a deep breath, not from nervousness, but awareness. That day marked a defining line in his life. When Ryan stepped onto the stage, the lights turned on. The large screen displayed his profile. Ryan, Fleet Operations Manager, Operational Partner, former field driver. Ryan spoke calmly. No grand gestures. No one was belittled. He simply presented what had been done. The house fell silent. A few heads nodded in agreement. From the middle row, Ryan noticed Melissa sitting rigid, her face pale, her hands trembling as she clutched her bag. Ryan never mentioned her name, he never accused, he never attacked. He simply presented what had been done. The screen shifted, fleet growth charts, driver income stability, short testimonials from drivers who worked with Ryan. Applause began to rise. The Q&A session opened. A respected community leader stood and asked about Ryan's personal challenges. Ryan answered without hesitation. "My greatest challenge wasn't on the road, it was at home, when struggle wasn't valued and love was defeated by pride." The words landed precisely. Ryan saw Melissa's mother lower her head. Her brother exhaled deeply. Whispers spread quietly. After the event, people crowded around Ryan. Handshakes, photos, partnership offers. Amid the noise, Melissa stood alone. Her face was wet with restrained tears. Finally, she approached. Her voice shook. "Ryan, can we talk for a moment?" Ryan looked at her. His gaze was calm, not cold, not warm. He nodded. They stood in a corner of the hall. People still passed by. There was no full privacy, and that was intentional. Melissa lowered her head. "I was wrong. I thought too much about status. I believed life would be easier without you." Ryan listened without interrupting. Melissa continued, "I just realized what made me strong back then was you, your patience, your endurance." Her tears fell, her hands trembled. Ryan finally spoke, softly but clearly. "You weren't wrong for wanting a better life. You were wrong for looking down on someone who was fighting honestly." Melissa broke down. People nearby glanced over, some overheard. Ryan continued, "I've forgiven you, but forgiveness doesn't always mean returning. Sometimes forgiveness means walking away." Melissa's mother approached, tears streaming. With a trembling voice, she said, "Ryan, please forgive us. We judged you wrongly." Ryan bowed politely. "I hold nothing against anyone. It's all finished." Simple words, yet they fell like a final gavel. Ryan walked out of the hall. The evening air welcomed him. The sky behind him glowed orange. Melissa collapsed to the floor. Her sobs weren't from being left, but from finally understanding what she had thrown away. Ryan stood outside the building for a long moment. No cheers, no explosive victory. Just a deep breath, like someone releasing years of weight. He looked at the sky and whispered, "Finished." Ryan knew that day would stay with Melissa forever, not because she was humiliated, but because the truth arrived without escape. And for Ryan, that was enough.